I sound really weird. I'm sorry. Welcome to the Verbal Positivity Podcast for July the 18th, 2018. I am your host, the amazingly adorable Rebecca Thistle, podcasting to you live-ish from my new used desk. Well, it's not quite so new, is it? But it's still used in my apartment, which I call Jeffrey Thistle Work. Yes, I've had this desk for like a month, and I'm still calling it my new used desk. I wonder how long I'll keep doing that. So I ended up not going to work on Monday, because right after I finished recording and posting the show, I just threw up. I went, ugh, nope, not going into work. So I stayed home. And then I managed to power through yesterday, right after a break. And we have a break at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. One of my coworkers, she's walking back to her seat from the bathroom, and she has to pass my table in order to get back to her seat. She stops and she goes, "Becca, you're so flushed. You've got a fever." And I started mommying me, and I went, "Aw." But I powered through, and I made it through the day. But I said, you know what? If I wake up and I still have a fever, I'm not going to work. And sure enough, I woke up and I still had a fever. So it seems to be going down a little bit, which is why I'm doing this show at all. I let myself sleep in. I was like I lay down in bed right about 8:30, and I had a situation, or I shouldn't say I had a situation. All caps, someone had a situation, and I wanted to be available to help him in whatever way I could. So I ended up talking to him for quite a while last night, but I guess I finally started sleeping, and around about 11, and then I just slept right on through. And I mean, except for waking up to turn off my alarms, but I slept right on through until 6 a.m. And at which point I'm sort of half awake, and I'm like, shit, I need to tell my supervisor I'm not going into work today. So, but I got a doctor's appointment this afternoon, in any event, so I'll be all right. I'm pretty sure it's nothing serious. I have some theories about what's actually going on, but I can always run it by this doctor and see what she thinks. Actually, she's a nurse practitioner. Anyways, enough about that. So as I vaguely mentioned, all caps, someone had something happen last night, and his story, not my story to tell. I don't want to give away the details, but he was really upset. And I was completely helpless because, I'm 700 plus miles away from where he is, and I can't do shit. There's nothing I can do. And that bothers me. It really bothers me. I'll be real with you. It bothers me, and I've talked about this in the past, of feeling helpless because all I can do is offer up my words. And so last night, as he's explaining what's going on and venting about the situation, I started having a lot of flashbacks to times in my life where I had similar things, not exactly the same, but very similar things happen to me. And finally I said to him, I said, you're gonna get through this. I don't know how, and you don't know how. But everything is going to be okay. And I guarantee you that you're going to get help from some of the most unexpected places and people imaginable. And it got real quiet, and I said, look, I don't know what I can do. It was yesterday. It was last night. I don't get paid. I didn't get paid until this morning. So I couldn't even send him money. I couldn't do anything. I mean, even now, like, I'm looking at what I got paid, and I'm going, I don't even know if I can do anything now. I don't. And that bothers me. That bothers me more than anyone will ever know. But, I said to him, I'm telling you all the things that I wish I could go back in time and tell Becca the younger. I'm telling you what I can't do. I can't go back in time and tell Becca the younger, as she's sitting out, locked out of her house illegally. The so-called law is not on her side, and the only help her family can give her is pull up in the driveway and let her sit in the car while she finds somewhere to go. I had nothing. And somehow I got help from people I didn't realize could help me. And I wish I could go back and tell myself, I know you can't see it now. I know you're scared now. And that's okay. That's valid. But I want you to know you're going to get through this. Because you are stronger than you realize. Nothing can break you unless you let it break you. You know what I mean? When I think back on the past, and I try and only spend finite amounts of time doing so, because you spend too much time thinking about your past, you're going to get really depressed. When I think about the past, and a part of me wants to look back on these mistakes that I made and regret them and define them as mistakes. But they're not. They're lessons that I learned. Wow. See, when I was planning out my show yesterday, I was going to call it I Learned Me a Lesson or something like that. And then all this shit went down with all caps someone. And I went, okay, I'm going to talk about what I could say to my younger self. And then now I've brought it right back around to I Learned Me a Lesson. So, go Becca. Uh, there's a story that my grandmother told me about my Uncle Jeff. My Uncle Jeff is a very creative person and always has been, and he really likes telling stories, and he really likes acting them out. He did this as a kid. So he was acting out a little story. I don't know how old he actually was, I forget. But he was acting out a story, and he was playing both the good guy and the bad guy in this story. So, at some point, I want to say it's the good guy shoves... At one point in the story, the good guy shoves a rock up the bad guy's nose. So, excuse me. So next thing my grandmother knows, my Uncle Jeff has a rock in his nose, and she had to take him to the doctor, and I think they actually, they got it removed and all this stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff happened. But on the way back from the doctor, my uncle turned to my grandma and said, "Well, Mom, I think I learned me a lesson." and so that's something that I like to say when I look back on the past, is that I learned me a lesson. And maybe I've had to learn the same lessons over and over and over again, Some of them funnier than others. My favorite lesson that I have to keep learning is that things that are directly fresh out of the microwave are generally hot. So that's a lesson that I repeatedly have to learn. But there are others about budgeting and time management and communication with important people that I have to learn repeatedly. But the fact is still that I'm constantly learning me a lesson. And so when I think back on the things that I would love to say to Becca the younger, which is Becca of the past, when I think about the things I'd like to say to her, I don't think a single one involves don't do that, or make a different decision, because it can mess up the space-time continuum, first of all. But more than that, every choice I made, every perceived mistake taught me something. And so the biggest thing that I wish I could tell Becca the younger at any point in time, at any traumatic situation, when she felt like the world was going to end and that the sky was falling, I